What's going on? It's your boy DameSmiff, and we're here with an episode of Eat Better Today, where we're going to actually explore a bit of how to be a healthier you, right? And this being a musician's channel, I know that that can be kind of like a particular asset to your musical career. So this would be great general information for anybody who wants to learn from this and explore cool food and, healthy habits and things like that. But to direct it towards musicians, you want to have a healthy lifestyle and a healthy, I guess you can say, toolkit from the habits to choose from because you want to thrive in the music industry. A lot of the thriving that you're going to have to struggle with is going to be in discipline, building systems, understanding yourself, your limits, your boundaries, what makes you good, what makes you bad, and things like that. So as we explore this through this series, called Eat Better Today, I want you guys to kind of go through that journey with me, okay? I'm gonna learn some things, you're gonna learn some things, and maybe I'll teach you stuff, and you can teach me some things, right? So if you're interested in conversations like this, make sure you hit the like button. And that will basically let everybody know this is cool, and this is a dope conversation, and they can join in. And then also make sure you subscribe so that way you can catch the latest video and all the other content I work on this channel. So when we think about, let's say, a lot of the struggles that most people worry about when it comes to, let's say, tracking food, right? Just tracking food, right? How many of you even know what it is? Maybe that's the first step, discovering tracking food, right? Well, tracking food is essentially just kind of like keeping a diary or a blog of everything that you've eaten, right? And there's a lot of different approaches, right? Some people just take pictures on their phone. Other people meticulously write down every ingredient, weighing out everything, right? And some people just kind of have their lifestyle shaped around the things that they eat, and so it's a little easier for them to track their food, meaning they'll eat at the same restaurants, or when they go to restaurants they eat similar food, so they don't really have to worry about a variety of things to work, distract them or misalign them from their goals and their, trajectory, right? So a realist example of what that could look like is, let's say you go to McDonald's, right? It's a worldwide food chain, right? But there's a lot of options on the menu that generally people don't think about with, I guess you can say, an intention, a purpose, right? Most of us go into McDonald's, we get what we want, right? We usually have it in our head what we want before we even arrive to the restaurant, right? But let's say you have a specific goal. Maybe you want to pack on muscle. Maybe you want to lose weight. Maybe you want to just, slim down and lose some pounds, right? Well, there's different things on the menu that you can order, right? And it could be the difference between grilled chicken, fried chicken. It can be no cheese to a salad, or, whatever it could be. But what people have learned in some cases is that they could either cook at home and then meticulously weigh out every ingredient to get, let's say, a burger and fries at home in the healthy way. They could order at McDonald's and really just consider what it actually is and then make adjustments for the rest of the meals and food throughout the day. And then also you have people who will just order similar foods, right? And so that could mean, like, let's say you get the artisan grilled chicken sandwich from McDonald's or something like that, right? But then let's say next month you go to a totally different restaurant and there they have a grilled chicken sandwich. So that's where it's easier for you to kind of like just make that choice when you're out eating with friends, or maybe you just want a quick lunch and things like that without having to worry about skimming through a menu, right? And so these are ways that people kind of in a simple way develop systems, but the reason it's simple is because it works specifically for them. So you are going to have to figure that out for yourself in terms of like, man, maybe I'm not the person that likes to wake up at 4 a.m. and cook 17 pounds of ground beef and rice and then put it all in the, cups and trays and stuff like that and label it with the calories, with the proteins and the macros and things like that. Maybe I'm more of a pull it out the fridge, throw it in the microwave and eat it type of person, or maybe you're a person that you prefer to cook. Maybe you like to cook. And so there's ways that you can fit that in. So as you figure that out, you'll be able to develop different systems for yourself, right? So I help people a lot of times keeping with the consistency in doing that once they can discover what system it is they want, right? So some people I know that I work with, they prefer to, at least, because of their schedule and their work lifestyle, they prefer to just come home, pull something out the fridge and eat, right? But in a way, it's hard to do with the price of that and then also the I guess you can say accessibility of that, right? So there's not a lot of variety of delicious foods that you're going to get that are really, really good, frozen, and going to hit your goals. And then you can just hit like the variety of things, and it's cheap at the same time, right? So what some people I've worked with, I've helped them with, is that they can figure out ways where throughout the week, maybe one day or two throughout the week, you can cook at home and meal prep, right? And it sounds crazy, right? You're thinking like, oh, meal prep is basically just leftovers with extra steps. And you're right. But the difference is that it's a system, right? You're not cooking at home because you're hungry and you don't feel like going out. You're not cooking at home because you don't have, money. You're cooking at home because you can make it easier to reach your goal, right? And your goal could be saving money as a part of losing weight, but the point is that you have intention, right? You found out what food tracking is. You found out how you want to food track, and then you're being extremely intentional about what food tracking is going to give you with the results, you basically put forth by the work you placed into it. To put it in a simple way, you get what you put in, right? So, now that we understand that, we got to really dig deep into what that can really mean, right? And for a lot of us, when we go online and we look at different stories on, let's say, Instagram or even YouTube here, right? You'll see people giving out their stories, and the ones that probably inspire you are the ones that either hit really, really close to home, meaning like you can relate to it, or they're usually the stories that are like very, I guess you could say, polarizing. Like you'll see somebody lose like a cajillion pounds in like 4 days or something, right? And in your mind, you're like, oh, okay, I want to do that. That's inspiring, or I'm motivated to get up and doing that. But then you start to realize all of the things that I just explained. And you're like, okay, I have to figure out how to track and all these things. And then your lifestyle starts to take a bit of a change. And what that may mean, and this is the part that I really want to drive home with this general series of Eat Better Today, is that when your lifestyle begins to shift, it means you're going to have to start looking at things that you find pleasurable in a different perspective, right? So like let's take myself for example. Growing up, a lot of foods were like, high sugar content, high carbs, and if you wanted to get to more savory meals like dinner and lunches, it was high fat and high sodium, right? So once I learned, like I said, about food tracking, I had to really figure out like, wow, I really can't partake in the things that I truly enjoy as much as I want to, because it's detrimental, right? And for people who don't understand what that means, that basically means you can't eat too much, and too much is going to harm you and be detrimental to being, let's say, cool, being healthy, being nice, being fun, feeling good, all of these things that we say we want in life, right? And so when I understood that, I kind of leaned into eating with intention, right? And so what that looked like was kind of weird, honestly, because I didn't know how to do it, right? I didn't have a system, and I also didn't have a coach. So a lot of the times that I was learning this was like in like high school, so it was a long time ago. But when I was learning about this stuff, it would just be like, oh, eat less carbs. Like that trend would come out, and then you just eat less carbs, right? It wasn't until that I learned how to actually track what it is that I was wanting to eat, willing to eat, and would not eat, that I actually understood what system worked for me, right? So for me, I like the system where I can have a bit of a hybrid, where I can cook at home, and if I'm out and about working and things like that, I know exactly what to eat and what to order, right? And the way I found that out was that there were certain times of the day where I would feel tired. There were certain times of the day where I felt like certain moods, maybe a little bit standoffish, or maybe a little bit, procrastination started to kick in or something like that, right? And so trying to answer for what those feelings were, instead of just trudging through the day with those feelings, right? So a lot of you would turn to like candy, soda, energy drinks. Maybe you just literally eat more food and think it's just recharging you, right? But when I started to kind of actually answer for, okay, which foods would solve for, let's say, being tired in the afternoon, which foods are going to help my mood, which foods are going to help, let's say, blood flow and getting nutrients throughout the body and things like that. Once I started to learn these things, now I have to, again, take a look at the lifestyle that I want and then apply the system, right? So that means, again, Even with the foods I'm learning that I like, I now have to figure out how to fit those into the goals that I have, because they may be pleasurable foods, like, you know, your favorite chips, your favorite restaurant, your favorite candies and tacos and burgers and burritos. But if you're trying to reach a specific body type, meaning the one you designed in your mind, not even the one you've seen on Instagram or some, you know, dude or girl you've seen as an influencer, the one where you're like, you know what? This is what I want. This is what I really, really want to look like. That one right there, there's a way you can get there. You just have to be intentional about it and figure out what that system is. And the faster you do it, the faster you get there. Some people, it takes a long time, but the key thing is that you just never quit, because there's really no point in quitting, right? Who would do that? So we're going to look at some really, really cool footage of how the Michigan Stadium Culinary team actually operates on extreme constraints and limited time, right? To do exactly what generally we want done for ourselves, right? Is to eat good food and have healthy bodies, right? But they do this for their athletes there, right? So they succeed through pre-production, and the pre-production does a lot of the heavy lifting on Friday to make Saturdays kind of like a fire and go process, right? And so what that really means is, like, when we talk about, let's say, meal prep, that's a big part of food tracking. Meal prep is going to help you understand what's available when you want to start tracking your food, right? So let's say you are the person that just wants to open the fridge, pull something out the fridge, throw it in the microwave or throw it in the oven and be ready to eat in 5 to 10 to 15 minutes, right? If you're that kind of person, well, if you prep the day before, or at least the morning of, then when it is time to eat, you have really good food and you don't have to, you know, think about it, right? And a part of that allows you to free up more of your day. So the connection to food tracking is a benefit in terms of making money, making connections with people. You can free up time to go hang with your family, whatever it is you want to do with time. It gives you more time back, right? And so that's going to be a big value that we're probably going to cover in another video when it comes to food tracking. But a big part of that is going to be how you are able to navigate those systems, because if you're a person that likes to cook, that's one thing. But if you're a person that likes to cook and you don't have ingredients in your house, or you don't know ingredients you need for recipes, or you're a person that doesn't have, let's say, the skills in the kitchen to pull off certain recipes, then these are hurdles that you're just placing in front of yourself, you know, because some people would rather eat simpler foods because they're simpler to make. But then simpler foods may not taste as good, which means it may turn you off from eating it every day or every week or as often as you need it, right? So once we navigate all of this stuff, right, and we're going to be able to do it very quickly. It's not going to be hard at all. Once you navigate all this stuff, you'll be able to basically design how you want to eat your foods and enjoy your meals and go out on dates and things like that. And it'll actually be pretty fun. Food tracking usually has this bad stigma when it comes to people that are in that little rut of figuring out what systems work. So like, you'll get the people that want to go low carb, vegan, super vegan, you want to go, you know, omnivore, carnivore, keto, all these different things, right? And so until you figure out which one actually works for you and you like and you enjoy and it's fun and the food's tasty and you enjoy eating the food and it brings you happiness and you're seeing the results and things like that, it's going to feel kind of like all over the place. And for some people, it's just, you know, stressful to go through that change, but change is what you're doing intentionally here, right? So the Michigan Culinary team, they like to use color coding, right? Color coding, labeling, strict checklists, and ensure like 70 different locations are getting the right food, right? And so for them to be able to do that, that means that we can be able to do it with just our one stomach and our one kitchen, right? So at the end of their shifts, they count the remaining food and the trash and the leftovers to refine the next game's ordering, and the trash can never lie. And using your data in terms of all of the tracking you do, like what you do or don't like, what has pushed, let's say, you over your calories or what days you went under your calories, once you start to like see those trends over and over and over again, you'll kind of understand your body a little bit better as far as like, okay, maybe this week I need to kind of ramp up being consistent and being disciplined. And then this week I know that I felt tired on Thursday, so I need to make plans for, you know, whatever energy levels are going to be affecting my schedule on Thursday and things like that. Once you know that, you're basically like in so much more control of your life, right? And so being able to do that on a mass scale for athletes, one, takes a lot of that burden off of the athlete so they can focus on being athletes. But at the same time, it provides you with a way to control how strong and healthy you're willing to be if you stick to the science and stick to the things that you want. So that's why it's good to have a coach or a dietitian to kind of help you go through these different steps and stuff like that. And so we'll watch them go through the batch prepping as well. So like just as the chefs prep veggies and burgers, patties and stuff like that, they'll do it a day early, right? And so you'll use usually your off days to prep proteins and grains, like that'll be like the beefs and the stews and the chickens and all that stuff, and then the rice. A lot of people love quinoa as a good one. Quinoa has a unique texture for people who love rice and potatoes and stuff like that. So I would say try it, but there's ways to fit almost any carb anywhere into your diet if you're thinking about the numbers, right? And so doing all that batch prepping, like I said, it just helps you eliminate the what to eat problem. There's two ways people usually do it, at least from what I've seen. So let me know in the comments if you've seen another way. But two ways I've seen. Some people will plate the entire meal and whatever can be like warmed up properly and things like that, have it all ready to go so you can just pull out the plate and eat. And then other people will have the ingredients separated so that way you can open the fridge or whatever and have a clean bowl or plate, and then use the food scale or whatever you plan on eating with a serving spoon or whatever, however you serve yourself, right? And just plate it in real time and then warm it up in real time and eat. So those are the two ways I've seen people do that, and it just really just clears their mind as far as like, what should I eat, and all of that worry that comes with it, right? So if tracking every gram in an app like MyFitnessPal feels like a chore, then you should use the hand portion method, or kind of like you'll learn it over time. I prefer people to start with the food scale and then work your way backwards, right? And that will take like a lot more time. Meaning, I prefer you to learn how to use the food scale, get really, really, really good at that, to where not using the food scale feels almost like not wearing a seatbelt while driving. Like you know you can do it, but it's like, why would you do that, type of thing. So that's where I prefer you to go. But generally, if you don't like the tedious nature of tracking on like an app and stuff like that, some people will learn that if you use serving spoons and stuff like that, you can kind of visualize what your plate looks like. So you'll be able to use like your hand, your thumb and things like that to figure out the different sizes. Now, the only detriment to not being tedious with your food tracking is that there will be varieties and variables and changes in your data that you won't be able to answer for because you're not tracking every inch of it, right? And that's something, again, some people may or may not care about depending on their goals. But let's say you have a specific goal, like you want to lose 10-15 pounds, something slight and easy, but you want to do it by a certain deadline. Well, if you got right up to the week of the deadline and then suddenly you started gaining weight, you want to know why you're gaining the weight. It could be a variety of reasons, whether it's, health, it can be stress, it can be literally the food, but you want to know, and tracking everything allows you to know that. So that's what'll be the biggest help for you when it comes to figuring out whether the hand portion will work, or should you, really trudge through the tedious aspect of it. I try to look at tracking my food as a way to learn what I like to eat and also learn about what it is I am eating, right? So don't necessarily look at it as, oh Lord, I have to track my food like a diabetes patient having to prick their finger. Treat it more like you need to do this, but also you want to do this because it's pretty fun, right? And you got to make it fun. I can't tell you how to make it fun. So that's the main thing you want to focus on. So when we think about the tediousness of tracking your food, it's a big turnoff for a lot of people. But the main reason I like to push tracking your food is because what usually people get from not tracking their food is the results of, let's say, overeating, right? Very rarely do most people, at least here, undereat and aren't aware of it, right? If you're under eating and you aren't aware of it, there's usually like kind of like, some things that are going on. But if you're overeating and you're unaware of it, it's pretty easy to do, right? And that can be in drinks, sauces. It could be how you prepare your food. Like maybe your culture has a lot more oils and fats and butters and ghees and things like that it cooks with. And so all of this can play a role in how maybe your culture may stand in diabetes or obesity and stuff like that, right? So as of 2026, obesity prevalence in the United States remains a significant health concern, with recent estimates based on varied clinical criteria suggesting that between 36% and nearly 60% of US adults may be classified as having obesity, right? And obesity is something that we can generally see on people, and it's also a thing that people generally will live with. Okay, so it's not like this is alarming for many people hearing these numbers, right? Nearly 60% of US adults may be classified as having obesity, right? So when you hear that, you may be thinking like, whoa, that's a big number, like in this moment, right? But that emotion of feeling that while hearing this information then has to be followed up with action, right? So if you were to, let's say, go on your body weight scale today, right? And you stand on your scale and your body weight scale tells you how much you weigh in pounds. It tells you, perhaps if you have one of the electric ones, that's what I'm thinking of in my head at least. It tells you your body weight percent, body fat percentage, and it tells you your BMI and all that stuff. If you take that information and then apply it to the food tracking tips we're going to go through today, you will actually be in so much more control than possibly 60% of the United States. Okay, so just keep that in mind, the United States adults, right? Now, you may be thinking in your head of all the possibilities of where somebody is obese and they're tracking their food and they're exercising and things like that, right? But the point here is that if you have the goal to reduce or no longer be obese, then these are the two, I guess you can say, biggest factors you're going to have to understand about yourself to then tell maybe your coach, tell your doctor, tell your nutritionist, and tell your dietitian, who will then give you a plan or a strategy to walk you through to get to your goals. And like I said, your goal could be something as small as 15 pounds to 150 pounds, whatever it is, right? So as we navigate this video here and we learn a little bit more about food tracking and some of the really cool strategies that Michigan is going to go through, just keep that in mind that these are athletes, okay? So the tactics and strategies we're going to be exploring with these gentlemen, men and women are going to be on an elite level. You can apply a lot of this to yourselves, and we can explore a lot of how it will work too.
Every game day, chefs at the University of Michigan's football stadium whip up food for over 100,000 hungry fans.
Named the Big House because it is the largest stadium in the U.S.
That's Chris Carr. He's in charge of a culinary team of 35 cooks.
There's an enormous amount of pressure on everybody, horribly stressful. Everything we do is based on time.
And they have to make every game count.
You know, a restaurant is open 365 days a year. We have to make all of our money, really, in 7 days.
The stadium aims to earn $1 million a game, just from food and beverage.
Game day goes quick. So if you ain't ready, then you'll be behind.
But that's not easy in a stadium that's almost a century old. There's only one concourse and one elevator to move an entire game's worth of food.
No. Usually it's about an hour away.
Here's how chefs race against the clock to feed football's biggest crowd. We're just 24 hours away from kickoff, and this is when the action picks up.
So the goal on a Friday before game day is always that everything is ready to roll.
So they have a day. So Friday is the day they start the prep, and then Saturday is the actual game day.
Deliveries from the main kitchen come in on the service level. Chris says this one truck holds as much as $20,000 worth of food.
I'm sure he's got multiple pallets coming in. So it never stops. We just keep on going.
With your legs.
On a Friday like this, everyone's job is to get as much cooking done as possible.
You don't want to have to walk in on game day and then do a whole lot of production. You just want to just go, go, go.
In one area, they're setting up veggie platters and prepping salads.
So stuff that can't sit for a long period of time without being compromised.
They'll grill mark hot dogs and burger patties.
It's quick. If you can do it quick without dumping them all, it works really well.
I'm always teaching up for game day though, so I'm a big movie green, so.
So it's interesting how for them the process is about speed and urgency, but it is more so about like they have high quality food, so they're not trying to waste it at all either.
Chris handles salmon rosettes for salads, headed to the private suites.
Can't be done too far in advance. It is fresh fish. You always have to make a little bit of spare. So if there's not one that's exactly the way I want it to look, I've got ones that I can work with instead.
Then chefs bring the food to the cooler to load onto carts.
So when you guys think of meal prep, what are your favorite meals and what kind of foods do you think of? Like what is actually gonna be in the fridge and on the stove?
He is hiding back there. All right, there's your rosettes.
This is an organizational nightmare. Each of these carts ends up at one of over 70 kitchens and prep areas around the stadium. So chefs run through checklists.
Relish was 11. French onion is 9.
To make sure the right dishes end up on the right cart. They also label each cart with the item and quantity.
That way we know that we've got everything where it's got to be.
He's getting nervous.
He's had 400 carts to build, so.
I know, right?
In the main kitchen, hot food gets labeled with a color for each concession stand.
And then where's the red? The red is actually pink. We don't do red here because it's Ohio State.
They'll move as much as they can on Friday before the concourse fills up with fans.
That way the food's up, ready to go.
So they have to build about 400 crates of basically trays of food that they can serve. That's not even like individual meals, right? So when we reviewed, I think we reviewed Seoul Airlines, I think it was, when they were prepping their meals. A lot of the meals that they had to make were like very, very meticulously flavored and things like that. So they have a consistency that has to be damn near scientific. So again, when I think about the foods that you will be prepping, you got to think about the recipes and the ability to consistently complete these recipes over and over and over and over and over again, right? Because if you're not able to do that, then you're not able to, repeat the system, let's say for 4 months or something like that.
Chris heads out for the day around 6 p.m.
When we walk into those doors tomorrow morning, they all know what's important. Couple minutes to 1 outside the big house. Time to fire it all up. Chef coming in. Chef coming in. I announce myself when I come in. The stadium itself will be swept by bomb dogs throughout the course of the evening. The last thing you want to do is walk into a dark, quiet kitchen and startle a bomb dog. All right.
Chef Chris turns on all the equipment and runs over the plan for the day.
Then when we walk in on Saturday, all we got to do is fire and go.
By 3 a.m., his sous chefs start rolling in.
So far, so good. Now we're just moving into the next phases.
By 8 a.m., they're frying the chicken tenders, and they've got to move fast.
So by this time, they probably have most if not everything already prepped and ready to go. And they're trying to figure out, at least throughout the night, how to get everything situated for everybody to just walk in and just eat. So it's different systems that you're going to have to think about and work on and figure out for yourself over time.
I'll go through 40 cases of chicken tenders each game just for the sweet level alone.
Chefs also slice up meat for shawarma and tacos. Just like in the main kitchen, pizza preppers are racing against the clock.
You can say the challenges of trying to make 6,000 pizzas in 4 hours.
They got to make 6,000 pizzas in 4 hours. So the budget for them is probably through the roof, because you got to think, if you prep some food and you don't eat it, that costs you. So they probably have people that order some food and it's not right, order some food and they just, maybe they didn't feel like eating it, whatever comes up.
Buddy's is one of the stadium's newest vendors. Its Detroit-style pizzas are made off-site, but have to be cooked, cut, and boxed in the stadium on game day.
Just like the field, right? You gotta have a great team. We're just trying to go out there and put on a good performance. Come home with a dub.
Buddy's, like every other kitchen in the stadium, feels the squeeze from a lack of space. The University of Michigan's Big House was built in 1927. While expansions through the years have added more stands, suites, and towers, the bones of the stadium have stayed the same.
So typically, most buildings are going to hold 50.
What a name. Bro's name is Michael Jordan. I got the nerve to get into the sports industry.
80,000, you're going to have, a 20% no-show rate. The no-show rate here is maybe 5%. So we're getting over 100,000 people every single game.
It makes moving food a nightmare. There's only one tunnel to cart food along, and only one elevator.
I've been standing right here for about 30 minutes waiting on the elevator. We just stopped on floor 5. I don't know if they have to get out. For reasons like this, I gotta wait for them to stop on their floor, and then I get off on floor 2, so we gotta go back in the elevator and push these halfway across the stadium.
That's crazy.
Banquet server Cameron Brennan walks up to 6 miles a game dropping off food. It's a trek he doesn't seem to mind.
If you got a little bit of spare time, you could take a glimpse at the game, I love it though, because I get to watch the football game, It's real cool. The elevator took like 40 minutes, man.
Finally, Cameron drops off his delivery upstairs.
Well, I guess this is where we part ways. Go blue, go blue.
This is the level with all the box suites. They come fully stocked with food and drinks.
So essentially, we get all the food, we bring it up, it comes up all nice and wrapped. We'll unwrap it, and then as my suites get here, I pull out their cold food and set it out nice for them.
Sarah Jacobus has been serving the same 4 box suites since 2014.
So we've got frittatas, fruits, goes with the beautiful parfaits.
So cool thing here, and this is what I learned from tracking food, is that the availability of good food in your kitchen will improve a lot of what you're tracking, right? So she has like the parfaits and fruit and stuff like that. This is clearly for like a football game in a suite, but if you were to put this into your own kitchen, you would be opening the fridge and then seeing fresh fruit, maybe like parfaits and like little jars and stuff like that. Stuff that is quick and ready to go and easy for you to eat, that is also good for you.
And then I find that people will eat these more if there's spoons in them, so it works out really nice. And it's kind of cute.
And it's kind of cute, so it also feels good to eat something kind of cute.
It's 2 hours before kickoff, and the gates open.
So once gates open, I begin walking the building.
That's Michael Jordan, a different Michael Jordan. He works for Sodexo Live, the catering company for Michigan Athletics. Since the Big House has so little room to move inside, Michael set up water stations and shipping container food stands outside.
It's really allowed us to expand our footprint of the stadium.
The new layout has been a huge success. Total food and drink transactions are up over 13% from last year, increasing the stadium's revenue by 11%. Michael says that's thanks in part to simpler menus and a better flow in the concourses. Constant communication on walkie-talkies also helps the team keep the food moving.
With 100,000 people with cell phones in the area, service just kind of drops to nothing.
Across the stadium, workers are scooping popcorn out of trash cans, prepping pretzels, and finishing burgers.
There's no playing catch-up when there's 100,000 people in the building.
By now, lines are starting to form.
We are a really busy stand. I don't know. They love it.
Hot dogs are the stadium's #1 seller. It moves about 10,000 of them each game. Concessions move quickly. Servers aim to get food to customers in under a minute. Speed helps the Culinary team hit its $1 million sales target each game.
And that's That's just in food and beverage. We're still not serving alcohol in the stadium.
This year, the university has one fewer home game. That means it's set to miss out on nearly $9 million in ticket sales, which makes food earnings all the more important. New ordering systems have helped speed up some concessions. Self-check.
I've seen this little self-checkout thing at gas stations like Circle K and stuff like that. But notice how like the food, like I said, there's a variety of options, right? That's the key thing you want to have in your kitchen, but it's also the variety of options you like. And so it's not like you're skimming through items. You're like, oh, I don't feel like eating that. I don't feel like eating this. You're willing to eat it all and it's delicious, right? But if you can track it, you understand what it's doing.
Checkout averages just 18 seconds a transaction, and it's helped this burger stand double sales this year. Now it's crunch time.
So about 15 minutes before kickoff will be our first really big push.
Stay in here all day because they're all happy.
Finally, the action on the field kicks off. But the food doesn't stop rolling.
And then halftime is definitely our biggest push.
You're not walking around with this. You're mid. We score a touchdown, boom, popcorn goes flying. It's like shooting confetti out, but it's pop.
He's just throwing the food on the floor, just wasteful.
Michigan pulls off a win against Rutgers, but the chef's game day isn't over.
I tend to hang all the way through to the very bitter end. And once it gets to the end of the game, there's no leaving until they're all gone. So you're just in it.
It's not uncommon for staffers to pull 12-hour shifts.
I mean, a lot of them are here more than they're at home. It's amazing they keep coming back. Dempsey, don't smile like that.
Michael says that's why finding the right team is important.
It's hard to hire 700 people for an event for 7 times a year.
About 500 of these workers are actually volunteers from local charities.
So right there, this is where we can learn that being disciplined to be able to do a job like this, it takes a lot of work. So 12-hour shifts just to pull this off, right? They're pulling this off at an extreme level. So a lot of people probably are coming in, they don't feel like doing it either. But just think about your own personal journey and you're trying to actually pull off something. And there's some days you don't feel like doing it. You still need to have the ability to just lean on certain systems to make it easier so that way that doesn't hinder you.
Sodexo Live donates a percentage of food sales to their causes. The catering company pays only about 200 of them, including the chefs and servers. They make between $30 and $50 an hour. Chris does one final walkthrough of the now quiet suites.
Well, we've reached 3 o'clock. For me, I'm about 14 hours in on the day.
He's assessing waste.
Chili, they've gone through about half of it. The wings are gone. Handful of hot dogs, handful of veggie brats left. But when the day is done, the trash can never lies.
He'll use this info to tweak food ordering for the next game.
And that right there is why food tracking is important, because then you can figure out what foods you do or don't like, foods you actually know will help you hit your goals or got you just underneath or pushed you over. You can figure that out for the next time you want to actually start meal prepping.
It's a giant stadium, and so you're going to have excess.
Volunteers pack up all the extra food to be donated to local pantries.
We're in the range of about 5,000 items a game of what they're picking up.
Then they gear up to come back in a few weeks and do it all over again.
I mean, I'd mark this one down as probably a solid B+, maybe an A-. Looking forward to the next 3 to go.
Bye-bye.
So yeah, that's pretty dope. So I think a lot of it is going to be figuring out what it is that works for you, how a lot of what you learn about yourself is actually going to be a hindrance or an actual, I guess you can say, benefit to what it is you're trying to do, right? So if you're thinking about, let's say you want to just grab and go with a bunch of your meals, you can do that. But the issue you're going to have to deal with is costs of convenience, right? But then if you're a person that wants to cook, then you're going to have to deal with cost of paying to cook all the time and getting ingredients and things like that. So that's the biggest things that you're going to have to navigate. And of course, figuring out whether or not you're going to be disciplined enough and have those strategies to lean on while you're doing everything. So if this was dope, let me know, because we will keep doing this series and I want to help you guys get better and better and better at this. So this was Eat Better Today with Dames, and I will see you guys in the next one. I'm out, y'all. Peace.